sacrifice. Lord, take control, take control. Well, thank you very much for being with me on my daily dose. As far as my health has gone the last few days, I believe I've found some notable improvements in my health so far as my strength and endurance, and I'm so thankful to God for that. As I always say, it's because of God's providence and your prayers that that is possible, and so I pray that that will continue as it has. That's the way we are as individuals. We want to be as healthy as we can. As a matter of fact, I've thought often, here lately at least, that I hope I never have a day where I feel so good or so healthy that I fail to thank God for my health. You know, oftentimes it doesn't matter whether we're strong or whether we're weak. We have to be reminded that we have to thank God for whatever level of health we had. We may be disappointed in that level as humans, but nonetheless, God's giving us the health that we have. We ought to thank Him for it. As a matter of fact, I spent the entirety of the day today visiting hospitals around Birmingham, UAB and Children's Hospital particularly, and as I was doing that, I kept thinking to myself, there's always someone in a worse condition than you are health-wise, and that's the way that it is really as far as our physical health, our emotions, and spiritual health especially. There's always someone worse off than we are, and those people need our help. As a matter of fact, several that I visited today, I just want to offer an opportunity for you to pray for them. I first visited with a man named Bradley Russell. Now, Bradley Russell is a brother to Russ Russell and his wife Jill Russell, who are friends of mine. And they told me about Bradley. Bradley's been in UAB hospital about a week now. He's a recent amputee, I think as of Monday. And of course, he's dealing with an awful lot of pain. He had his right leg amputated, so he's struggling with that. As a matter of fact, they kept him sedated for several days to try to control the pain. He has sight pain, and then also, as many amputees, he's having some phantom pains, meaning pains that he thinks are in that limb that's no longer there. And so we want to pray for Bradley Russell. He's hoping to get out the next few days. They've controlled his pain somewhat now, so he may be able to do that. But nonetheless, Bradley Russell needs our prayers. And it was good to get to meet him for the first time, and he seemed to be a strong individual. So I look forward to maybe coming to know him a little bit better in the near future. From there, we moved on to yet another place, and that was Children's Hospital, which adjoins UAB Hospital now. But I met with a little girl that I met, or at least mentioned, about a week ago, Ava Burgess. Now, Ava Burgess, remember her father Benji and also her mother Crystal, we mentioned last week. Little Ava is 1 year old. She has Down syndrome, but also she has a heart condition that as of last week has caused her to have 2 open heart surgeries. And so as I talked with her father Benji today, he was there with her. Ava looked really good, and he said that she's made some notable improvements herself in the last 2 or 3 days. So I was encouraged by that. And I was also proud to be able to stand there and tell him that I was like Ava at one point. That is a small child, me being 6 months old, her being a year, so not much difference. When I had my open heart surgery, and I made it very well for many, many years, about 34 years or so. So I hope that I could encourage him with that, just being able to see me and my health, to know that his little baby's going to be fine. And I think that's going to be the case, and we're going to pray that it is nonetheless. So pray also for Ava Burgess. And then I moved on down the hall, and I went to see another one that I mention quite often, and that was little Emma Mitchell. Of course, she's from the Munford area at least. Her parents, Amy, and also her father, Jay Mitchell, are from the area, and I was able to spend some time over there with her today. Now, she's had a turn for the worst, if you will, as far as the way that we think of things anyway. She has brain cancer, and something has changed the last few days that's caused her to stop communicating very much, at least not carrying on conversations, and the left side of her body has pretty much lost all of its strength. She's not able to use it right now, and they're not sure what that is. She spent about 2 hours or so today, I think, in an MRI test. And so hopefully they'll make some discoveries maybe later on this afternoon or in the morning that can kind of help with that. They're going to try some new treatments, I think. But nonetheless, Miss Amy, she's such a sweet lady, a great mother to Emma. She was having a very tough time today, and we can understand that. So let me use that to remind you this. If your children are healthy, you need to give them a hug. You need to tell them how much you love them, because not everybody's child is that healthy. And of course, going to UAB and Children's and seeing these cancer floors particularly, we have to be reminded of that. It's a very touching time. And so it was good to get to go over there and see her, see little Emma. Of course, I call her oftentimes the Princess of Munford. I told Amy today that's not really the case. She's the princess far beyond Munford. She inspires us with her strength and her courage. Of course, little children do that sometimes, but especially Emma. She's precious to all of us. So pray for little Emma and also everybody involved. And so just remember those 3, Bradley Russell, Ava Burgess, and also Emma Mitchell. Keep them in your prayers and close to your heart today, and pray that they'll be strengthened, and if it be God's will, that they'll recover from what they're dealing with right now at the best level of health that they can in the future. As far as spiritual things go, I want you to consider something with me. This may seem quite strange to begin with, but I happen to enjoy hot stuff. What I mean by that is hot sauces, peppers, buffalo wings, that type thing, a lot of jalapenos. Matter of fact, I've kind of gotten to a point in my life now where if something doesn't have a little spice to it, a little twang, or some heat, if you will, it's kind of boring, kind of bland to me. I've gotten to where I'll put jalapeno peppers on nearly anything that I eat, whether it be a hamburger, a hot dog, or pizza, or just about anything. I'll add something hot or spicy to it so that I can enjoy it more. And that may not be a good thing, but that's where I am nonetheless. But that as strange as that is, I want to turn that spiritual for you. I want you to consider that unless we have the spice in our life that we ought to have, and what I mean by spice is that we have some dedication in our lives that's true and honest spiritually toward God, we're really just kind of bland to Him. We can claim to love Jesus, we can claim to love God, we can claim to serve them and such as that. But unless there's something in our life that gives it a little zing, a little spice, something that proves who we are and what we're willing to do for God, we may seem bland to God and probably to the world around about us. Matter of fact, your Bible tells you this, if you would, Matthew chapter 22, beginning in verse 37, the Bible gives us a command, if you will, a requirement as to how we ought to be dedicated to God. Here's what the scriptures say. Jesus said unto them, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God, watch this, with all thine heart, with all thine soul, and with all thy mind. For this is the first and great commandment. He goes on to say, and the second is like unto it, that thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Now, what does that do in our lives? Friends, that's what causes men around us to notice who we are. When they look into our lives, they don't see the bland lives that many live. They don't see the boring lives that others seem to live. They see the life in a true child of God, at least, one who loves the Lord with all their heart, soul, and mind. They see the life of a dedicated person. They see someone who can inspire them. They see someone who can uplift them, and as our program is set to do, who can encourage them and excite them about knowing more about God and being obedient to Him. So it's my prayer today that if you look into your life and you've not given yourself fully over to loving the Lord with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, if you're not showing that type of love toward your neighbor, loving your neighbor just like you love your own self, your own body, maybe you're falling short. Maybe your life is not what it ought to be. I often quote this verse, at least a portion of it. John 10 and verse 10, Jesus came that we might have life and that we might have it, that's life, more abundantly. Live the most abundant life that you can. Bring the spice, bring the heat back into your life. Be dedicated to God and do it every day of your life. This has been your Daily Dose, and I pray that you'll be encouraged. My heart.